take us as we are, or you don't take us at all.
Critical Kiss tearing up the screen. With the legends of rock, we're living the dream. Hard-hitting heads banging, never obscene. Critical Kiss, rock and roll supreme.
Is it critical?
Okay, let's talk about the album proper and its contents. That sounded way too professional.
Let's see, Strutter. I think Strutter is critical to the album. I do not think it's critical to KISStory in general. I'll probably get hate for that, but I don't.
You don't care.
What about you, AJ? We're gonna go around the circle, AJ. Get with the program.
All right. Well, is it critical to the album? Sure. I think I think it is for history too. It's on the first live album, and it's killer. So yeah, it's critical to both to me. Hell yeah.
So it's okay to be wrong.
And
I'm kidding.
I'm
This is
also going to
opinion.
be wrong in Brant's eyes because I too think it's critical to the album. It opens the album. The drum fill at the beginning is the first thing you hear when you put it on. It's critical to not only KISStory, but it's critical to Paul Stanley. I think this is one of Paul Stanley's best songs in KISStory.
Yes. Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I figured I got to be controversial every once in a while.
That's
'cause people
right.
That's fine.
people
I like it. Wait
People
till
like
we get to the 80s and really upset people.
Nothing to lose. I think it's critical to the album. I do not think it's critical to KISStory. You're like, what is this guy doing?
You know what though?
Everything I've learned so far, Brant hates Kiss.
I'm gonna say
Hey,
negative.
there's people out there going, "This is an iconic album. It's all critical."
It's a
Right,
give and take relationship. Kiss gives Brant shit and he takes it.
I would say I'd probably lean towards no, not really on both ends there.
Okay.
It's a great song.
Ooh.
It's
Stir that
a good
pot.
song,
AJ gonna stand up and be controversial.
but
The first Peter
I
Criss
think so.
vocal is not critical to their album. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'd have to say negative on both. But, yeah, to the album or history. Nah,
right.
take it or leave it. I mean, it's still good, but it's.
Yeah, you're half right.
And I am going to go kind of the same. I don't think it's critical to the album. I do, however, think it's critical to KISStory because even though it flopped, it was their first single.
Yeah. I can
So
see that.
in those terms, I think it's critical to KISStory. And I like the unplugged version better. I say that a lot because Kiss Unplugged is great.
Firehouse, critical to the album, critical to KISStory.
Why?
To me, in my opinion.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Well, I think it's critical to KISStory because it was one of the first songs Paul wrote when he was 16. And I think it's critical to the album because it's one of the better songs. One of the better songs on the album.
I just wanted to know why, because you had swayed away from your usual hatred of the band.
But everybody knows I love Firehouse. It's my favorite Kiss song.
Yeah, no, I know you said it in your introduction. I just wanted to pry you a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. I can take it. I'm a big boy.
I think it is.
He clearly
to,
hates Kiss. Look at all the shit behind him.
I think it is to the album. Maybe. Yeah, it's kind of around the middle for me, but for history, yeah, with the live shows, I mean, come on, we're going back to a live again, but sure, that's awesome when they would break out the sirens and Paul with the hat and everything. That was
Gene with the fire.
Yeah, I mean that was right
I mean,
there.
before he did
hotter
it to
than
like
hell,
War
Firehouse.
Machine and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
because
was
that
good. It
makes
was good
sense.
for the show.
Yeah.
It was good for the live stuff. So I mean, yeah, for sure.
Off topic, I would love one of those Firehouse hats.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
Oh yeah.
John 5, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. Call him up, ring him up,
Mhm.
shoot him a DM. So I have a weird history with this song. Okay, so I'm gonna make this kind of brief. In the mid 2000s, after I graduated high school, I maybe was a part of a bootleg site, and weirdly, anytime that I had to fit all the songs of a show onto a single disc, Firehouse would always be the one that I took off for some reason. I don't know why. I don't hate the song. I actually really like the song, especially now. I love it even more. But I do think it's critical to the album, and I do think it's critical to KISStory because, like AJ said with the live show, I mean, that's where you got the demon breathing the fire. And it's a really good song. I just had to share that because I feel so guilty about it. And I do think it should have been played throughout their career because that should be Gene's fire breathing song.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
For sure.
All right. Cold Gin. I love Cold Gin. I think Cold Gin is critical to the album and critical to KISStory. I think it's not only one of my favorite songs in Ace Penn song, but I think it's a general knowledge that it's a fan favorite as well. So I think Cold Gin's critical to both the album and KISStory.
Same for sure. For the album, for live shows, for the history, it's still a pretty sure staple, right? I would think, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they played it all the way through.
In their set, yeah, and to find out, I didn't really know when I was a kid, Ace, Gene, whatever. But then you see Ace. When I was a kid, I would see like the name, and I just assumed that's the guy who sang it. And usually that was the case. So when I heard that, I'm like, oh, that Ace sounds a lot like Gene. But then you find out later on, it's like, oh, it is Gene. But yeah, for sure, critical, hell yeah, for the album and KISStory, hell yeah.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I know people who don't even like Kiss that like this song. The riff is badass. Live, that silence. Ba, 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 beep, ba, 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 wow. Yeah, that and it is a well constructed Ace Frehley song. And if anybody has ever watched any of my videos where I talk about Kiss, I always say Ace has the best pop sensibility.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to write a pop song. And while this is heavy and rock and roll, it's very poppy. It's catchy as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is definitely critical to the album and critical to KISStory because they played it throughout. Even when they weren't playing some of the older songs, they were still playing Cold Gin.
Yep.
All right.
Let me know. I think that it is critical to the album. And I think no. Wait a minute. I think it's not critical to the album, but I do think it's critical to KISStory. And my reasoning is because it's on the album. It's kind of one of those songs. It's not one of the better songs on the album. A lot of people don't. I like it, but I know just generally listening to people, a lot of people don't like it. But I think it's critical to KISStory because it's one of the songs that Gene and Paul introduced to each other and we worked on together, and it's got that trade-off of vocal
very Beatles-esque.
Very Beatles-esque. So I think it's part of their origin. And I think it's great. It's on the album. It's one that I almost went critical, but I felt like I tried to possibly need to say not everything's critical. Not every song.
You were being a critic.
So I was being critical, and so not critical to the album, but critical to KISStory.
Okay. I agree for sure. Well, first time hearing it, I was kind of like, it's all right. For us, like the album, no, I mean, not like you said, not really, but yeah, for history, for sure. Like, just like you said, without that song and them doing it, who knows what would happen, you know? But definitely critical in history for sure for me. Album, not so much.
They had to have songs in the beginning that attracted them to each other musically. Otherwise, they
Right.
wouldn't have wanted to work together. And they have stated, Let Me Know was one of those songs. Sunday Driver, Let Me Know was one of those songs. So it's very important. It's one of the cornerstones.
Yep.
It's like I said, it's Beatles-esque. It's Lennon McCartney. It's got that Beatles vibe written all over it. Had the Beatles recorded this song, written and recorded this song, it would have been a #1 hit, in my opinion. I think it's that good. I don't think it's critical to the album. I think this is one that we're all going to agree on. Actually, I know that now. But I do think it's critical to history for that very reason and what you guys said. I mean, it's the first song Paul ever played for Gene, and it's kind of funny that they decided to make it more of a duet and trade off vocals. But the first voice you hear is Gene on it.
Yep.
So yeah. All right, everybody's favorite coming up.
Kissin Time. Critical misstep. Oh, I wish it could be wiped from KISStory. I actually don't have a problem with the song too bad. It's got its good parts and stuff. It's just the simple fact that it wasn't part of the original release. And so I think if it's a song that wasn't part of the original release, it should have been left off of all subsequent releases. If it would have been released as a single, that's great to promote something, but don't put it on the album.
Bands do that all the time. Like put out a single, it doesn't have to be on an album.
Right. So I just think this is one that the album could have been 9 tracks. In my opinion, the album could have been 8 tracks, but we'll get to that later. So
Did you ever have this album on 8-track?
I probably did at some point in time. I don't own a copy that don't have it on it. The earliest copy I have is still a blue label, but it does have Kissin Time on it.
I found it without it once and passed because it was too much.
Yeah. Yeah, so misstep for me.
Yeah, you could throw that song in the garbage for me for sure. And I didn't realize when I got the tape that was on. I was listening to the album for so long I didn't even realize. Actually, I came to the realization not long ago that I had the original pressing without it. You know
what?
So
wow.
And then bought the tape one day. I'm like, what the hell is this song? I'm like, it's kind of a shitty song. I'm like, where'd that come from? So yeah, you can just take that and just launch it into the Sarlacc pit and Jedi for me.
Where's Boba Fett at? I've got a Boba Fett. I should. If I knew that was coming, I would have thrown it.
Definitely an 8-track record would have been fine. 8th song, I should say. Yeah, because I think I know what Brent's hinting at.
Yeah,
you know me too well, my friend.
But they wanted to probably throw another song in there because they knew they had a shitty one, so they were going to throw another one in there. So yeah. No good.
I think it might be coming up after this next song too. I agree 100%. However, I will play devil's advocate. I think Gene's vocal on this is awesome. I think he sounds great. I don't know if that's because it was recorded later on. I don't know if maybe some more live shows under their belts helped that. Whatever. He sounds great. I was listening to it before we started. Also, it was their first charting single, which is pretty awesome. Not the song, but it's an awesome little tidbit moment in history. But is it critical either way? No.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, but I don't seek it out. It's not like, you know what? I haven't heard Kissin Time in a year. I think I should listen to it.
I like the fact that it's got 3 of the 4 members' voices on it. It's one of the first that you hear Gene, Paul, and Peter. and
Yeah.
they placed it perfectly, starting with Paul saying, "What come on, Charlotte, wake up, San Diego," and then Gene coming in and singing, and then after the solo, Peter coming in singing in that higher register. It's off to Seattle, and he just sounds so good, but the song just is not the substance that is classic.
Yeah.
Critical.
And I almost messaged you guys and was going to say, should we just leave it off since it wasn't on the original release? But I mean, most people have it with. So
Yeah.
Well, we needed
made
something
the
to shit on. So.
True. All right.
All right. Deuce. Yeah. Deuce. I mean, critical in both ways. I mean, one of the more critical songs, critical to the album, critical to KISStory. I mean, they used to open their show with it back in the day. So yeah, it's get up and get your grandma out of here. I mean, it's critical all the way around.
Agreed. I mean, I wish that to me that's the best opening. That I wish they would have switched that with Strutter on the album. That's the perfect song to start a show with, in my opinion. So yeah, definitely critical for the album and history for sure, because it still stands the test of time. It's one of the best for me for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed on both ends. I was reading something yesterday and it said that Gene Simmons still doesn't know what it's about. I always assumed, your man is working hard. He's worth a deuce, Matt. He's worth a shit. He's worth a shit. He's not worthless. He's worth
That's what
shit.
you call. Hey, I gotta go take a deuce. Hey, your man's worth a deuce.
Even when I was a kid, that's what I thought it was. And when I was a kid, I also thought it was hilarious to start a song with "Get up and get your grandma out of here." Like, get her out of here.
This day is awesome.
Yeah, man, I will never forget the first time I heard that song, and that makes it critical.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
That opening riff and AJ, you're right. And for the longest time, honestly, I thought it was the first song on the album. I don't know why, but I always thought it was the first song on the album.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe I just skipped to it, or I knew where it was, or maybe that's the first time I heard it was probably on a cassette. So maybe that's just where I saw it go in and hit play, and that's where it was. So I don't know, but I think it makes sense as the album opener. I think side B could have easily started with Strutter, and I think that would have made side B even stronger. We'll get to that later on. Sorry about that. My bad. Everybody's favorite song up next. Another one.
Yeah. Love Theme from Kiss is a critical misstep to me. The only way they could have saved putting this song on the album, and I've said this before, is if they would have kept it as its original intention and been Acrobat with the much too much or much too young song tacked onto the end of it. But in its state, it's a skip for me every time. I don't find anything remotely entertaining about it, and I've listened to it enough in my life that I don't feel the need to listen to it anymore. So I always skip it. So yeah, it's a misstep for me.
Yeah, it's pointless in my opinion. I mean, it is what it is. Like you said, it was a part of another thing. So it's just it's no need for it on the album, and no need for it in KISStory for me for sure. So yeah,
if you're going to cut off the best part, why put it on the album?
Yeah. Right. So no, just leave it off and just leave it off.
I always wish they would have done something with Life in the Woods, because that on those early bootlegs or radio shows or King Biscuit Flower Hour, whatever it was, that song was so catchy. And I think had they wanted to put something else on, I don't know, was it just that it wasn't finished? It wasn't really anything. It was just kind of something they did. It was kind of a jam thing that they put a couple of words to. But I think that in the place of this, at least it's something of substance. And this is kind of just like, let's do what, they've done for James Bond and all these movies and call it love theme from. The Godfather had love theme from The Godfather. It's like, I don't need it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
But
think when it come to life in the woods, I think the only way Life in the Woods as a song would have made it to the first album is just the title of the song. I think is not a direction that an image that they wanted to build on their very first album. So I think Life in the
Yeah.
Woods would have had to been a rewrite. They would have had to rewrite some of the words, and it wouldn't have ended up being known as Life in the Woods. It would have had something different than that.
Because it's almost got a Southern rock, ZZ Top kind of Black Oak, Arkansas kind of thing going on to it.
Yeah,
It's kind of
so-
hippie-ish.
Yeah, hippie-ish. And like I said, they did not want that. I think they got their fill of hippie-ish in Wicked Lester.
Yeah.
They took songs, but it just the fact of you see a song like She shows that they can take a song that was originally infused with a lot of hippie elements and strip it down and make it a metal song. So they could have done the same thing with Life in the Woods. They could have rewrote it, rearranged it, did some different things. If you're gonna cut off the best part of Acrobat, you definitely should have just replaced it with something like Life in the Woods or something.
Yeah. Alrighty. 100,000 years.
100,000 years to me is critical to the album and critical to KISStory. It actually has surprised me. I love 100,000 years. I love the groove. I love that shuffle beat that Peter keeps through the whole thing. It's not very easy. Everybody gives Peter a lot of shit, but try play a shuffle beat for an extended amount of time. And he does it a lot. He does it in Detroit Rock City. He does the shuffle beat a lot because just with his jazz background. But I found out over like recent years that not as many people are as big of fans of the song 100,000 Years as I am. I always thought that 100,000 Years was a fan favorite. But the more I do this make these videos on YouTube and talk about songs, I find out through people in the comments and people that I have in videos with me that it's not necessarily a fan favorite. But I like it. It's not my favorite song in the catalog. It's not one of my favorite songs on the album, but I do think it's critical to this album, and I think it's critical to KISStory.
As time goes on, I mean, I always liked the song. I love it now. It's absolutely one of my top probably 5 favorite songs by them. It's just so great, and then the live version too. That what is it? The 10-minute live version.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep.
So I love. I definitely think it's for the album critical. Is part of history. And I'll take that. I'll take that 10-minute Paul version over some other live crap that they've done in the past any day. So yeah, it's up there for me, and I love it. And it's one of my favorites for sure. So bring it on.
Yeah. I'm with you guys on both fronts. I'm also with AJ. I used to just be like, like I could skip this song and be okay with it. As I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate it a lot more. And as a Paul fan, the breakdown's great. It's just, it's one of those songs. Like I remember when they did it on the farewell tour, when I saw them the first time with the originals, I was kind of like, I just felt like time was running out. And I was like, they could have put another song here instead of doing, a 15-minute version. But now looking back, I'm like, oh man, that was like such a great part of the show.
Yeah.
When Paul swings the mic cord around and wraps it around his neck. It's like, dude, those images like alone make that a critical moment in KISStory, or critical in KISStory. And yeah, I think now I appreciate it more. Like you said, Brant, the shuffle's great. The bass at the beginning. And you said Gene underrated as a bass player 100%. I don't think even back then when none of them really had the chops yet, but even then he had the bottom end of Kiss had so much feel between him and Paul's rhythm and Peter's jazzy drums. I don't think this album alone gets the love it deserves. I think it's gotten it now, but there was a long time that people just it felt like they didn't give a shit about the debut album.
And even before Paul starts to sing, it's just the song already is badass, you know.
Yeah.
It just gets you in the mood. Like,
yeah.
Like a good night driving song. Like
Oh yeah, dark. Yeah, good fall winter song. Good driving at night song.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
nice,
when Paul,
nice
hit a sheet of black ice. I don't know.
Little spookiness to it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah.
But I feel all right. All right. The closer.
Black Diamond. Black Diamond, one of my favorite songs. I love Black Diamond. I don't like the way it ends on the first album. I know some people do the spookiness to slow down the tape. But I love Black Diamond, and I love once they get done singing and they do that pause and Peter does that do back in and Ace does that just that solo, that blues infused, just wailing solo. That's one of my favorite parts of that song and one of my favorite parts of a Kiss song. Raises the hair on my arms whenever I hear it. So to me, I think it's definitely critical to this album, and it's critical to KISStory. I mean, it's got so much airplay in playing time in shows, and so the band apparently loved it. It got a lot of stage time, and so I think it's very critical to the band and to the KISStory of the band.
Oh man, as a kid, I love this song so much. It was just something I never heard before. The slow beginning, the sticks, and like you said, that part at the end where the just jamming at the bloom bloom bloom. It's just so cool. But that last 2 minutes just ruined it on the album for me. And I just hit skip right away when it hits that. So, but on the album, yeah, I'll say critical for sure. And history, yeah, man, that's just so. And then them old recordings of it when they did it like in the early mid 70s. Oh, dude, you can't beat that. It's so good. It's so good. So for sure, awesome song. Awesome part of history. Critical, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. This one's running the table. This is my second favorite Kiss song. So yes, it's critical to the album. Yes, it's critical to KISStory. I agree. I don't like the slowdown part. And instead of skipping it or turning it off, I just go back and listen to it again. This is one of the only Kiss songs that I could listen to on a loop all day and not get tired of it. I probably catch myself singing this song more than any other Kiss song. Doing anything, even just the guitar parts with my mouth, just singing it. That and then he's dropping back. Oh,
he drops down on his knees. The iconic dropping down on the knees, and Gene and Paul's on the other side doing the. It's just, I mean, all that coordination from Sean Delaney. I mean, it's just like I said, it just all works. It all works together.
And that's what I always say about Ace's stuff. It's like I can just hum like an Ace solo right now. I can't really hum like a Bruce solo or anything. Not that Bruce is bad or Vinny's or any of those guys are bad. It's just the Ace stuff is just in my head. It's like in my head. No pun intended.
Like miniature songs and melodies inside of the song. He just
and I don't know if it's just because I was listening to it so young, or it's just I can hum Ace solos right now. I can hum them.
I think you just kind of proved my point earlier. I said he has the best pop sensibility.
Right. Yeah. And it don't make the other ones bad, but it's just
no. Paul, I mean, they all write great pop songs. And I know pop and Kiss shouldn't go together, but it does.
Right.
Popular just meaning popular. But yeah, his
good at writing
his tone
hooks,
and his the melody. Just I mean, every Ace solo makes sense.
Right.
It goes with the song. It's not just something thrown in there. Like some of like Vinny's stuff, especially live, you're like, what the? Come on.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. Don't mess with something that's already good.
Yeah. And I don't want to turn this into like an Ace worship fest, but I mean, credit where credit's due. You go and you listen to a solo on Ace's album, like on his 10,000 Volts album, which I think had a whole lot of
it had some influence.
Had a lot of pop catchiness to it. But he's got solos on his 10,000 Volts album that you can hear the same tone, the same phrasings, the same licks, the same techniques that you hear all the way back on this first album. He's very consistent through his career when it comes to his solos and the way he plays. Les Paul. Yeah. First song, Got to Choose.
Yep.
To me, and people are going to shit all over our opinions on this. I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't even know if the three of us are going to be in agreement because I feel like I'm very much the odd man out when it comes to this album. I feel like that Tommy and AJ are going to be a little more in tune with each other, and I'm going to be the swinging appendage out here.
Well, we're the young guys, you know. We're the young guys, me and Tommy.
Right. I'm the grumpy old man. Get off my hotter than hell lawn. Got to choose. Not critical to the album or KISStory.
Okay.
To me, not critical.
Do you have a reason, or just it doesn't vibe with you?
I think it's one of those. I like the song. Don't get me wrong. So I guess I should say whether I like the song or not. I like Got to Choose. I think it's great. It's one of the not highlights on Alive, but it's there, and I like the live version. I think it's a great song. But to me, I don't think it's one of the. Well, I mean, it might be one of the songs that makes the album. So maybe it's critical to the album. Maybe I change my opinion and it's critical to the album because it is one of the better songs on the album. But I don't think this is whether Got to Choose existed or not. I don't think would have changed KISStory.
Gotcha.
It would have changed it. It would have hurt the album. So maybe I change. I can do that.
You can do that.
But I say it's critical to the album because if it wasn't on the album, it would be one of the better songs that's not on the album. But I don't think this is something that long term had any effect.
All right, AJ.
Okay. Well, a lot of the problems I had with this album was like I kept thinking about Alive, and as far as Alive goes, it was really cool. But as far as like, I'm with you, Brant. KISStory, not really. The album, not really. Alive, sure. We'll get to that. Good song. Yeah, it's a good song.
Like I said, and maybe I do go back to my thing because not the Alive version, but this version. And this version is not the Alive version.
Right.
I mean, it starts the album and it starts off dragging. It's like it's like what?
It's like you just walked in on their practice or something, right?
Yeah, but I love all the drum fills and everything in it. I mean, Peter he plays the same drum fills on Alive that he does. I mean,
not a bad song, but
not a bad song.
Critical to the history or the album? Nope, that's me. Nope.
All right, Tommy.
All right, and I am in agreement. I don't think it's critical to the album because there's a song on here which we'll get to, and I've mentioned on my other channel whenever I ranked this that I think this song is better on not only Alive, but it's better on MTV Unplugged. And it's kind of even later on when they played this on later tours, and I know we're supposed to be talking about the album, and I'll get to that, but it aged better. So I guess it could be critical to the album, but I don't think as far as KISStory goes, it holds any weight because it wasn't a single. This album only had one single, and it just like it's like this. Even as a album starter, it's still a deep cut.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
Not to like hardcore Kiss fans, but like to the common person, it's a deep cut. Like I play this album all the time, and I think my wife is even kind of surprised when these songs come on because, like, I mean, she knows them obviously, but she's like, it's always seems like she's never heard it before. It's like she's hearing it for the first time. And you're right, Brant. It starts off kind of dragging ass. And it's a good song. It is a really good song, but it's just murky. It almost feels like it's off balance right off the get-go. So I'm gonna stick with it. Not to the album, not to KISStory.
Yeah. I have several of those wife Kiss songs where we'll be in a car and something will pop up. She'll be like, "What the hell is this?" It's like, "Well, got to choose."
Yeah,
Hotter than hell. Second Kiss album. She's like, "No."
Yeah. You put on like Reason to Live or Forever. They're, oh yeah, I like this one.
Yeah. We'll call it a wife deep cut.
Yeah. There we go. I like that.
Yeah.
Critical.
This whole album would be a wife deep cut for my wife. My wife would not know she might know Hotter Than Hell, but the rest of these songs, nah, she don't know none of the songs.
Yeah, definitely Hotter Than Hell, and maybe the next song that we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
Parasite. To me, Parasite, and I just feel I'm looking at my stuff now, and I'm just like, man, I'm gonna get shit on all over in the comments. Parasite,
I didn't know you were into
album.
that, Brant.
I'm not. Parasite, critical to the album, but not KISStory.
Okay.
I love Parasite. I think it's probably one of the best songs on this album. If it's probably my favorite song on the album. And that's why I think it's critical to the album. But it's unless you're a hardcore Kiss fan. I'm not talking about casual Kiss fans that just go to concerts because it's cool. But you don't know Parasite no more than you know Got to Choose. My wife don't know Parasite.
Yeah.
So when's the last time you heard it played at a concert? So I don't think it's very long haul. I don't think it's to me, it's one of the shining spots on Alive. But I think long haul, once you get out of the 70s, Parasite is not very critical.
Okay.
Fair enough.
We're on the same. We're kind of on the same page. So it's like same thing as far as history goes. As far as the album goes, sure, yeah, it's a great song. And Alive, once again, that's another one that a highlight of the Alive album. But long term, I'd have to say no. But I mean, I like it. I like it a lot. And you get this, another Ace song that he doesn't sing, but good though. But yeah, definitely not critical to KISStory.
Yeah. And I love hearing Ace sing this song. Like he puts when he's always leaving, tries to grab a hold. He sings it the way he would sing it,
Right.
And I love Ace singing this song. I love hearing
We're
him
blowing
sing
Ace again.
Yeah. It's okay. Somebody mentioned in the comments about how we were Ace worshiping, and I'm like, it's gonna happen. Just go ahead. It's gonna be a common theme in this show. I swear I'm gonna have me some blue Kool-Aid up here next time. But yeah,
we should do that next time. We should all have a cup of blue Kool-Aid.
There you go.
Every time we mention Ace, salute.
Take a drink. Take a drink.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
So for me, Parasite, definitely critical of the album. I think it's the heaviest. I think it's the heaviest song. This and one other song on here, which is on side 2. We'll get to that. But it's one of the heaviest songs up until Creatures of the Night. And I think that makes it critical, but also, like, without that on this album, it, like you said earlier, it makes it weak. It makes the album weaker. I feel like that is like the definition of what makes the song critical of the album. Is without Parasite, this album would be so weak. And Ace did Parasite on Origins, I believe, volume 1. I think the first one he did. And then, I mean, as far as the last time they played it live, I mean, I know they probably did it on the cruise at one point, and I think they did it. They would have had to have done it on the Alive 35. So that was what, 2010, something like that.
Yeah, and I think didn't they play it on the reunion tour?
I
Either
believe
reunion
so.
or farewell.
Yeah.
Can't
If
remember.
they didn't do it on the first run, they probably did it on that Lost City.
I'm not one of those set.
97.
I'm not one of those set list nerds that can. Oh
I
yeah, they
used
played
to
this.
be.
I'm not one. I'm not a set list nerd. But I just know
I've
that once you
forgotten
got
so
past-
much because I was early on, like when Setlist FM kind of first came out, and then like once like this iteration of the band the last one, I kind of gave up because it was like nothing ever changed really. I would look at the first couple of nights and then that was it. But yes, I think Parasite is definitely critical of the album.
I don't think that I said I didn't think you heard it much past the 70s. I don't think you heard it much past Destroyer.
No.
I think it got took out of the set list once they hit the Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun trinity of albums. I don't think I'd have to go back and look, or somebody can correct me. A set list nerd can correct me in the comments if they want. But I think it was one of those songs that was dumped for other stuff. So yeah.
Because the Destroyer tour, I mean, they played like Flaming Youth for the first part, and they played a lot of different songs. I don't think Parasite was anywhere to be seen after Alive.
Yeah,
I think you're dead
and like
on.
I said, you can go on set list.
And then they did
Parasite.
it in the mid 90s.
Yeah,
bring it back.
So, bring it back. Going Blind. Not critical to the album or to KISStory. I like Going Blind. Going Blind, I actually became a bigger fan of Going Blind, like a lot of KISS fans, because of Unplugged. I had a new sense of appreciation for the song. I kind of one I never really paid attention to on the album whenever I listened to it before Unplugged. But I love the song now. I love Going Blind now. The Unplugged version and this version, I think both are actually pretty decent. It would have been cool to possibly hear this on Alive. It would have definitely been a pace changer for the album. But I
was thinking that today, actually.
But to me, though, sadly, I don't think it's critical to the album or to KISStory.
Well, my absolute favorite song on this album, a miss from the band for sure. I wish they would have pushed it a little more. If you've ever heard the Melvins cover of it, it's awesome. The Unplugged version is awesome. I really wish they would have put more life into it. But yeah, as far as the album goes, well, obviously it wasn't critical to them because it kind of blew it off. And as far as KISStory, unfortunately, no. But man, this is my favorite, one of my probably top 5 KISS songs of all times, and actually, I think 2 of my top 5 KISS songs of all time are on this album. But I love this. I love this song, and damn it, I wish they would have just went a little further with it. Wish they would have pushed a little more, but it is what it is, and yeah. Yeah, not critical to the album, not critical to history, but one of my favorites. I love it. I love this song so much.
I too love this song very much. I also much prefer the unplugged version. That's the first time I heard it, honestly, because I remember watching Unplugged when it aired. And I'm pretty sure that was the first time I heard it because I didn't have this album then. But I mean, I also like this version, but I don't think it's critical to the album. I don't think it's critical to history. Actually, I know it's not because, like you said, AJ, they'd never really even. I mean, they attempted it maybe a couple of times, but it was never. I know they did it on the cruise, and I've seen videos of that. I feel like this is one of those songs that you always hear the stories about. If it's not good on an acoustic guitar, it's not a good song. This song would have been better had it stayed on an acoustic guitar, in my opinion.
Another song for the unplugged and the cruise.
You're gonna hear it a lot because I love the unplugged versions. I think it just shows more of their musical talents than people give them credit for. Because we all know as Kiss fans, we get shit on a lot for our heroes being lackluster musicians.
I understand they probably didn't want to bring the tone down too much, but
it does add because I mean it's kind of a ballad. It's kind of a power ballad before that was a thing, and but it's heavy.
Yeah, dark ballad. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. One can wish.
Yeah, because he doesn't actually say "I love you" or whatever, and he just says, "Hey, I think I'm going blind," And originally called "Little Lady," and I've heard some people speculate that it's a conversation between a sailor and a mermaid. I mean, who knows? I mean, Gene half the time don't even know what he's writing about. He's just
some of that Wicked Lester shit, though. The lyrics are wild.
Yeah,
Gene is on some heavy drugs, but he never did drugs.
Who knew?
Hotter Than Hell next. I think it's critical to the album, and I think it's critical to KISStory. And I think it would have been cool to they put Hotter Than Hell fourth on the album. I think it would have been cool for them to have put it as side B, the first song on side B, because that was a big thing. If there was a title track, a lot of times the band would put that as the opening track on the second side. And they could have maybe moved all the way into Hotter Than Hell's spot. I don't know. But I think Hotter Than Hell's a great song. It's actually one of the classic Kiss songs that's not like, oh, I don't get super stoked over Hotter Than Hell. It's just like, I appreciate it for what it is. What I used to love Hotter Than Hell about is the way you see it on the live and the way you see it in a lot in the concerts. Hotter Than Hell usually is going into Firehouse. So when I heard Hotter Than Hell, I knew Firehouse was coming. But I don't not like it. But I think it's critical to the album. And I think it's one of the songs it's the song that a lot of casual Kiss fans know. They'll know Hotter Than Hell or whatever. And you hear it on Cirrus. And so it's one of the songs that's kind of out there from the early era. So I think it's critical in both.
I'd agree for sure. Once again, we're making the Alive comparison. God, I can't wait to get to the Alive albums.
It's the fucking best.
That's popular opinion.
That's my F-bomb. And it was an hour in, so I'm good.
But it's, I mean, as far as the album goes, for sure, it's the title track of the album. And history, I mean, back then, for sure. And if it wasn't for Hotter Than Hell, we'd never have Rip and Destroy.
Right.
So definitely, it's up there for sure for me. Yeah, KISStory, critical. Yep, you got my vote.
Yeah, I agree on both fronts. I think it's critical to the album. Obviously, it's the title of the album. Critical to KISStory. I think this is one of those songs that just screams Kiss. It makes you want to bone, Also, quick side note, I always thought when I was like younger, like before I was even a teenager, like
I'm
I
scared.
always thought it I always thought he said blow you like the midnight sun or midday sun. And I'm like, what? And I know we've already had a couple of questionable moments in this episode, but I was like, what the fuck? Like, why would he say that?
That's awesome. I never heard that before.
And then I actually sat there and listened to it like over and over, and I'm like, oh. But there's a lot of songs like throughout KISStory where I'm like, you can take it and like totally make it into like a double entendre. It's like, holy shit, they're the kings of that. I mean, nobody is better at double entendres than KISS.
Well, that's I've talked about that before. I used to call them "get it" songs, like "get it, get it."
Yeah.
You know,
Right. That's what my wife says. My wife says that you show her a KISS song, she can show you a song that's about sex in some way or another. Every KISS song, she says it's about sex,
which is A-okay in my book.
Get it?
I mean, even with Ace, he's always leaving, trying to grab a hold.
That's what he does.
See, deep down inside, we're all 15 years old.
We're all perverts. I love it.
Yeah. Speaking of grabbing a hold, how about "Let Me Go"?
Hopefully our group chat never leaks.
There you go.
Let me go.
Rock and roll. I love "Let Me Go, Rock and Roll." I like the version on here, although I think it's one of the peppier versions, and it's one that the mix actually doesn't sound too bad. It's like they got better in the mix as time went on. But and I love it on Alive, but we can't talk about that.
Not yet.
Not yet. But "Let Me Go, Rock and Roll" it's one that I feel is critical to the album, because I feel like personally it's one of the better songs on the album. But I don't think it's critical to KISStory. Even though this is one that they played off and on all throughout their career, I still don't think, had this song not existed ever, that it would have changed KISS's status much. To me, that's what's it's critical, if it's critical to KISStory. But I think it's critical to the album, but not critical to KISStory.
Okay.
I agree. The album, for sure. History, no. But once again, another miss from them. I wish they would have pushed it more. You know, I'd love to have seen a concert where they did "Rock and Roll All Nite" with all the confetti and all the stuff. You know, yeah. And then the very last song, then "Rock and Roll." You know,
yeah. Because it does that. It's a long jam session. It does that. Has that breakdown where it's just
right.
And Gene's doing the little hump,
right?
Yeah,
and
Peter starts doing the flams, right? And they break it in, and it goes into Ace. The solo Ace does on Alive that we can't talk about.
Don't talk about it.
Let's just do it now. The hell with it. Let's bring on Alive.
Hold on a minute.
But, yeah, I mean, it would have been really cool to push that a little bit more, because maybe I think we all have, I don't know, for me, a little "Rock and Roll All Nite" fatigue. You know, it's been played over and over and over and over, and it is very cool. And I actually stuck around the last time I saw him, because I figured this is probably the last time I'm going to see him, for the confetti and all. But it would have just been so cool to have been like, oh yeah, thank you, good night. Oh, one more song. You know, and then they break into that. Oh yeah, you know,
rock and roll.
And it would have been really cool. I mean, it's got a nice upbeat. It really gets you going. And unfortunately for the album, it's for me critical to the album. Unfortunately, not to history. So
right.
once again 50-50.
Yeah, it's very condensed on. I mean, for it to be so long on a live, it is 2 minutes and 16 seconds on. It is so short because it's like it literally starts and it's done. And I love that they lengthened it out on a live the way that they did. But even on this album at 2 minutes and 16 seconds, I still feel like this album would have been severely lacking had it not had it.
Yep.
This might be, even like future episodes, this might be the most agreeing we ever do on an episode. Critical to the album, not critical to KISStory. I love this song. We might be the only podcast about Kiss that we all like. Let Me Go Rock and Roll. I think it's like an old school. It's just an old school rock and roll song. It's very Chuck Berry. It's got, you know, just blues undertones, but also, you know, it's just peppy and upbeat and it's quick and to the point and we get it. Okay. It's fun and it's great. You know, on not gonna say it. Not gonna.
It's a party song. It's a party song.
It's even, but it's still even good on this album. I mean, it's one of the better songs.
The way
on
Gene
this album,
says, rock and roll.
Yeah.
Love that. And according to Elvis's stepbrother, this was Elvis's favorite Kiss song. So that makes it critical. That makes it critical to Kiss. Fuck it. I'm changing it. Critical both ways.
Hey, and that's cool. That's cool.
Hey, man. Let me go rock and roll song, man.
All the Way is one of those songs that's grown on me over time, but I still think it kind of drones, and I don't think this is critical to the album, and I don't think it's critical to KISStory. I think it's just kind of one of those fluff tracks to me. So that's just how it is for me, but I like it now more than I used to at the very least, but it's a no and no for me.
I think that's common. I think Kiss fans have come to like love this song or like it even.
See, Brent, you're all worried about you're going to get like the people coming after you with pitchforks and everything. Same page. I like the song. It's a good song for sure. No, but as far as the album goes, nah. As far as history goes, nah. But still, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. But I think a lot of people.
AJ with the star rating.
Oh
yeah. But yeah, for sure. I understandable how it doesn't fit into everything, but man, there's a lot of Gene songs in this album too.
A lot.
Yeah.
This
went all
might
out
be
for
the
this
most Gene songs on one album.
Probably, and they're all pretty damn good. But I mean, like I said, that's a good song.
Solid.
It's a really good song. But yeah, as far as everything goes, no, not critical, not to the album or history.
This is my absolute favorite song on this album. I love
really.
I love it from the count-in, the cowbell, the overall. It just, I don't know. It's everything. I've always loved this song from the first time I heard it. I was like, I honestly, I think I would put this in my top 5 Kiss songs ever.
No shit. Wow.
I
nice.
fucking love this song. Every time I flip this record over, I get excited because I know that count off's coming and I'm just ready for it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's so easy, but it's so catchy.
It's got that weird stop-start riff.
Yeah.
That riff stopping.
It's clean, but it's crunchy. You know, it's It's like smooth, but yet it's a little crunchy peanut butter.
Yeah,
with banana,
mayonnaise,
not mayonnaise, mayonnaise. Get that mayonnaise out of here. Keep that mayonnaise up north. Down here in the south, we eat mayonnaise.
Man, there's a lot of people out here. Jeff Foxworthy, anybody?
Yeah.
All right.
Initiate.
All right. Once again, I strayed.
That was a short one, though. Okay, next track. Watching You. Watching You, critical to the album. For me, I love Watching You. Critical to the album. And I think it's critical to KISStory. It's one of those deep tracks that is a very well known and very well loved deep track. And it's got some of the coolest, Limping As You Do, and I'm Watching You. I mean, it's almost like a serial killer or a vampire or whatever, because Gene was still the vampire during this time. He wasn't the demon yet. So with him being all into horror comics and everything that he was, I would see it as he's a vampire and he's already damaged them and now they're limping and he's watching. That's the way I always envisioned it as a kid.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
I think it's critical in both aspects to me.
Another song I wish that would have been pushed a little more. It's heavy as shit. Once again, we're gonna go to a live, but
No.
Oh man, on the album, yeah, on the album for sure. History, I don't know. I don't. It doesn't seem to be pushed enough. Obviously, they didn't really care as much as anyone else did, but I like it. I think it's like I said, it's heavy as hell. I gave it a 4 out of 5. And but unfortunately, yeah, and as far as history goes, no. But the albums, yes, for sure, but definitely critical on the album, but not in history. So,
and I'm gonna side with Brant on this. I give it critical to both. I think you're spot on. I think it's one of those songs where it's a deep cut to most, but it's one of those songs that if you were at a Kiss show and they started that, everybody would flip the fuck out because it is this and Parasite. Those are those two songs that I was talking about. They're the heaviest songs until we get to Creatures of the Night. And this one, not Alive, but even Alive 3, that version is killer.
Yeah.
But the album version is so good. This song just, I mean, as far as like Kiss, this is what Kiss should have always sounded like. Is this and Parasite. And yeah,
Kiss and Parasite. Yeah, or Watching You and Parasite.
You can still make catchy, because these are catchy. These are catchy songs. They're earworms that, as Kiss fans, we've heard these songs so many times, and it's not just because we're crazy Kiss fans, but because we've heard them so much. These are like on the first album, I talked about how I find myself singing Black Diamond more than any other Kiss song, even more than Love Gun. That's my favorite song. But Parasite and Watching You, both, those are two songs I can constantly find myself humming at any given time of the day. So yes, both critical.
Nice.
Mainline. Mainline. I like Mainline. I know a lot of people don't like Mainline. Think this is a song that Paul wrote for Peter. And I don't think it's critical to the album or to KISStory. It's almost one I think Peter should have. Although I love hearing Peter's voice, Paul could have sang this album or could have sang this song, and I probably would have had the same feelings about it. I can hear Paul singing it in my head. But to me, it doesn't hurt the album for it to be on it, and it doesn't help the album for it to be on it. So it's just kind of meh. For me, it is, at least. So I'd say it's not critical either way.
Garbage both ways. What do you got, Tommy? No.
Wow.
No. See, now when I was growing up, pretty much every Peter song besides Beth, Hard Luck Woman, and later on, I don't think I ever realized that Black Diamond was Peter. It's like, because Paul starts it, I just skipped them. It's like, Peter, what? Skip. Yeah. But over time, I've had a little more appreciation for the Peter songs. This one,
Your musical palette has grown.
right? Exactly. I found out who Bob Seger was. I found out who, like, the R&B stuff was. As far as this song goes on this album, no, not critical to the album, not critical to history. Even as far as like a Peter song goes, it's okay. It's okay to me.
Mhm.
But you would have asked me this 30 years ago, I would have been like, no, get it off the album. But it's fine. But life would have gone on without it for sure for me. But it's okay. But as far as everything goes, it's just
Yeah.
bring me. We'll talk about another one pretty soon here.
Yeah. I am also in agreement with both of you. Not critical to the album, not critical to KISStory. It's just kind of there. However, the Alive. Oh wait, it's not on there. But
That's why it's not critical.
but yeah, exactly. I've always loved Peter's voice. And I think, I mean, it's a catchy little tune, a little ditty or whatever here, but it's just kind of like, to a lot of people, I love All the Way, like I said. To other people, Mainline is just kind of like All the Way. It's just kind of there, It does not all songs grab everybody the same way, so
yeah.
Everybody's taste is different, but I'm with you guys on this one. Mainline is just kind of me.
Yeah.
Me.
I will sing it when it's on, but
I think it would have been better as a Paul song. Not much better,
right,
because I think the song itself is not that good of a song. It's not one of Paul's best efforts. But honestly, it would have been better as a Paul song, I believe.
Should have called it. Should have called it Meh Line.
Meh Line. Meh
Line.
Meh Line.
Speaking of Paul coming home, I am. Although this is another one of those songs that has grown on me, and it grew on me, and I had more appreciation for it because of Unplugged. But we're judging this version and not the Unplugged version. And even this version isn't that bad. It's just one I really didn't pay much attention to until I heard the Unplugged version, and then I gained more affection towards it. But to me, I still think that this song is not critical to the album, not critical to KISStory. This actually feels like it should be, they tracked this wrong. This should be the final song on the album. It sounds like a closer. And then they put another song behind it, which I think should have been a little further up in the track listing. So a little bit of a misstep on the tracking. I guess we can call those either critical or missteps, but I think there's a little misstep on the tracking that Harder Than Hell should have opened side B, and Coming Home should have closed the album. It'd been like Paul, if he would have put his song Goodbye anywhere else on his 78 solo album, it wouldn't have made any sense. But yet he put Goodbye as the last song on his album, and that made perfect sense.
Yeah.
But I don't, even though I like the song, I don't think it's critical in either way.
I agree. I found new appreciation for this song on the Unplugged. Not a bad song. Not a song that had staying power with me. Would have been a perfect closer for sure. I agree with you on that for 100%. It's one of the few Paul songs on the damn album. As far as the album goes, it's critical to the album. Sure, it's just in the wrong spot, like you said. As far as history goes, we could live without it, but it's still a good song. It's just not like staying power type of stuff. So that's my thought.
It's like a notch above meh line.
Yeah, it's more like coming me. Coming me.
Coming home, maybe coming home.
if they would have tracked it, as the final track on the album, then
Perfect.
it would have been the 5th track on side B, and Paul's last song before that was the 4th track on side A. That's like a vast desert of space between Paul's songs.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's just that's why he should have did Mainline. It would have been one more Paul song, one less Peter song. It wouldn't have changed the album any. It'd still been meh.
Would have been so mad. Maybe if Paul did it.
Maybe.
Paul would have put a little more. Paul would put a little more into it.
All night.
All night.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Coming home, I like the song. Like AJ said, I like it better on Unplugged. And not only would it have been a better closing song, it could have also worked as an opening song because, like we saw in Unplugged, it was a pretty decent opener. A little weird to have them start with something that's not Detroit Rock City or Deuce or one of those songs. But yeah, it's like the 9th track on a 10-track album to me is always one of those songs that gets buried. It's like it's not quite good enough to close it. It's just right there. And I think that's one of those critical missteps because I think this song, had they done the old switcherooski, this song could have been more critical to both the album and KISStory.
Yep. If they didn't want to track it anywhere else, they could have just moved it. They could have just moved it up. But side B could have been like Hotter Than Hell, Watching You, Mainline being a Paul song, Strange Ways being a Peter song, and then Coming Home being, could have been something like that. Would have been
or they could have kept Peter on Mainline, even just put it on the first side, split his tracks up.
Yeah.
I'd say let me go rock and roll and then Coming Home and then put Strange Ways as the closer on side A. That'd be my choice.
Yeah, because then you got 2 Peter songs on one side, like one track apart from each, or separated by one song in between them.
It's like, hey, Catman, guess again. We haven't heard anything from you this whole album, and here you show up.
Right.
Granted, the drumming on this album is probably one of my favorite Peter performances overall.
Yeah. Peter's really good on this album. His drumming's really good. So speaking of Peter, the final track, Strange Ways. This is a song that everybody that watches my channel knows that I'm not always been the biggest fan of. Yeah, I think it's one of those songs. Just kind of the riff is the same thing, over and over and over and over. But it's metal. I mean, and it has grown on me a little bit. I've found myself jamming to it a little bit, and Peter doing the little stagger stutter riffs in it than he does. Ace has that solo that he kind of just wrote on the spot in it. So I think it's critical to the album because this album would not have been Harder Than Hell without this album, just as it wouldn't have been without the song Harder Than Hell or without Parasite. But I don't think it's critical to KISStory because other than the cultish hardcore Kiss fans, nobody knows this song.
Another one of my favorite songs off this album. Another one I wish they would have pushed a little harder, but I understand it's a Peter song, and I think they weren't really pushing the Peter songs too much.
Not yet.
Heavy as hell. This is the ultimate track. It's like the Black Sabbath hotter Kiss to me. So I love this song, and I didn't really know about it until I finally got it. I'm like, what is this song? This is like a Peter song in the same thing as like Black Diamond. It's just so dark. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, as far as the history goes, no, it's definitely not critical to the history. But for the album, I think so. Like I said, I wish it was in a different spot. I don't think it's a really good closer for the album. But I love this song. I love despite the repetitive riff. I love the Ace solo. Oh my God, it's golden Ace solo for me.
Let me get my blue Kool-Aid.
This is actually blue.
Right, for sure. But I mean, yeah, this is the 5-star song for me on this album. People probably won't agree, but for me, hell yeah, I love this song. And unfortunately, as far as history goes, no. But yeah, album, I love it on the album. I love this song.
Critical to the album, it could have been had they moved it out of the last track on the album spot. Like you guys said, very Sabbath, very doomy. This album always gets that murky word in the production. I don't think it's a 5-star song. I think it's a 5-star solo from Ace, because we're Ace guys apparently. Well, we are. We're admitted Ace guys. Yeah, I just. I think this song definitely would have suited better elsewhere on the album, and I think that could have made it critical to the album. So I don't think it's 50-50 critical to the album. I can't pick, but not critical to KISStory, unfortunately, because I feel like Ace really shines on this record too, and he doesn't get credit here. I think this album to me shows where we see kind of start the drop off of his musicianship, because not quite yet. We're not there, because he's still pretty badass on a live album that we're not supposed to talk about yet. But what I mean by that is he's like almost front and center on this dangerous Kiss lineup. He starts to kind of pull back, even though later on people start to, he's one of the favorite members, obviously. They're all four have their fan base, but he's one of the most popular, especially in the 70s. So I think had he not gotten so much into the toxins and the liquid courage, I think we could have seen a lot more from him. I think this album probably could have been the start of the decline, is what I'm saying. Even though he wasn't declining, it was the start of that. If that makes sense. I don't think it does.
No, I got you.
No, I understand.
That was a long-winded answer for a short-winded question.
So, track 1, Room Service.
Track 1, side A or side 1.
Room Service, critical to the album, yes. Oh, I added an extra category for me this time. Critical to the album, yes. I tell you, man, I overperform. Critical to the album, yes. Critical to the catalog, no. Critical to KISStory, no.
Oh, okay. So now we're doing album, catalog, and KISStory. Okay. All right.
Yeah, because it can be critical to the album and not be critical to the catalog. What about you, AJ? Room Service.
What are we doing? Oh, is it critical? All right, Room Service.
Yeah.
What's going on? Where am I?
Oh shit! I've been up since 4, man. Okay, Room Service. To the critical to the album, yeah, sure, it's a good opener. I like it. Good Paul swagger. To the catalog, definitely not. To KISStory, no. For sure. Yeah. No, definitely no.
I think Room Service is one of the, before you speak, Tommy, I think Room Service is one of the very underappreciated songs. I think it's a great song. Like you said, it's great. It's the perfect way to start this album off. And I love the way this album sounds. We haven't even really talked about production. I know that's not our thing, but to me, this has the best production of the first 3 albums.
Yeah.
100%. Yes.
I don't know how they made such a change. They got rid of Kerner and Wise is what they did, but
which that's also something we could add to critical before I get into mine. Is Kerner and Wise were trying to get them to go to another label.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And Neil fired them, and they stayed, and he produced with his bag of weed. Although Dave Whitman, who engineered it, did all the producing, basically.
Yeah. Like I said, it was basically Kiss and Dave Whitman, and I think assistant engineer George Lopez, and they were in Electric Lady. So, they like Electric Lady. I think they were at home, and I think they were comfortable, and I think they were road proven. And they're definitely got better chops. The chops on this album are better than on the first two albums. And yeah, so to me, it's critical that it's just overall better sounding. I think the big critical thing on this, and we kind of mentioned it, is that the time that they had to make the album, they were writing songs in the studio. It's amazing that we got, like AJ talked about, a lot of filler. 4 songs on the album got played on Alive, but there's a lot of filler on this album. But they're not, even though they're filler, they're not horrible songs. They're not like just total steaming piles of dump. But the speed that they had to write these songs, and who knows, they may have been playing each other's instruments in the studio, because Paul was writing a song rather than playing rhythm guitar for Gene's song. And Gene probably, hey man, let me play the rhythm on this one. I'll lay down the rhythm tracks and you go in the bathroom and write your next song.
And that's producing in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Really is. The engineer really does all the heavy lifting. The producer's just like, oh, okay, let's do this, blah, 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 set up, cut. It's like a producer on an album is basically like a director of a movie.
Yeah.
And a producer on a movie does nothing.
And a lot of your sound, the sound that you actually get comes from the engineers.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And they cut all the tape and all that stuff back then. Now everything's done on, the machines. So yeah, room service. I'm not supposed to say agreeance, because according to someone in the comments, that's not a word. Although I did look it up, it is a word.
Agreeance.
But apparently I said it a lot in the last episode, so I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say I'm in agreement with the two of you.
Dude, it's your show. You say whatever the hell you want.
Well, no, I just, because we because we said on the first episode, tell us in the comments, shit on us if you want. So I'm accepting the shit and changing my ways. So I will not use that word anymore.
You had Poindexter correcting your grammar.
Right. And I'm not shitting on the commenter, because I'm saying I'm going to take your advice, because it was piercing to your ears. So I'm going to change my ways.
Well, Thomas, I am in agreement with you as well.
I am in agreement that room service is critical to the album, not the catalog, and definitely not to KISStory. And like you, I think it's an awesome opening song. I think I overlooked this song for a long time. I remember when I first got it and I liked it, but I didn't love it. Like, I was just like, okay, like, play me something I know, because this was very early in my KISS fandom, where I'm like, okay, I don't know these songs. And I don't think I really knew any of them until, I didn't know any of them really until Rock Bottom. So that tells you anything. But like you said, I don't think they're filler, like B- songs, or B+, A- maybe. But as far as KISS goes, I don't think they're bad songs at all.
Yeah. And Paul's voice in this first song, and then we'll go on to the next song, but Paul's voice in this first song, and even Gene's voice in this first song, well, maybe not Gene so much. Paul's voice in this first song and on this album, he sounds the way he does on Alive and Destroyer and Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun. He has developed and displays his powerhouse vocal, and this is where you really hear it for the first time, really, is on this album. And
Super
Paul. Gene's Gene doesn't really develop that demon persona that he gets in his voice. He don't develop that until after Destroyer, because then he becomes the demon. Up till this point,
God of Thunder is still the beginning.
Yeah, he's still the vampire. If the originals comes out during, right after this, around the time that Alive comes out, the originals comes out, and then a little card on the back, it says the demon. And Paul's not the star child; he's the love object, and so they're still figuring out their identities. Ace is kind of the space traveler, or the journey, or whatever. He's not the space man; he's space something. And Peter Criss is the cat. So, but Gene kind of develops his voice hit that that he does. He kind of develops that after Destroyer. All right. So Two Timer. Track number 2. Two Timer. Critical to album, no. Critical to catalog, no. Critical to KISStory, no. This is kind of a song. This is probably one of my least favorite songs on this album. And it's just because it just kind of, you have such an upbeat, fast song. I think it might be track placement, because if I listen to this song by itself, it doesn't seem so bad. But listen to this song right after Room Service. It's kind of a Room Service is way up here with energy, and then Two Timer comes in down here in energy. And maybe putting it somewhere else on the album might have helped. But to me, that all that aside, I don't think it's critical to the album, the catalog, or the KISStory.
I agree. Not to the album, not to the catalog, not to KISStory. And it does. It's kind of drags, and it's definitely a filler song to me. So, yeah, across the board, not critical. Two Timer.
We look like we just pissed Tommy off.
I know.
I want to be different because I really like this song, and I don't want us to agree on everything, because that just makes us like one critic of Critical Kiss.
Yeah, we don't want to be a circle jerk. Yeah, I know.
But I have to agree. It's not critical to the album. It's like Room Service is like this fresh sound with Super Paul, and then Two Timers like you're backtracking to Hotter Than Hell. That sound. It has a clean production sound, but the style of it's like you're taking a step back.
Yep.
So with that being said, no, and no. But I like it. Like you said, Brant, on its own, yes. I really like this song. But yeah, I think maybe if side 1 finished with this, I don't know.
Waiting, and I really don't like when Kiss tracks 2 songs in a row by the same person. But Ladies in Waiting, another Gene song, and Ladies in Waiting to me just feels like Two Timer. It has that same feel to it. It doesn't have a lot of energy. I think it has a little more energy than Two Timer. But it's not at the same level as Room Service. That's the bad thing about starting the album off with such a strong song, is you have to maintain that level. And Gene's first 2 songs don't. And I'm not saying you have to be upbeat and fast to be powerful and maintain a level. It's just the sound of them and the musical content, lyrical content, and just doesn't do it. So Ladies in Waiting for me, it's not critical to the album. It's not a shining spot on the album. It's not critical to the catalog, and it's not critical to KISStory.
Feels like another filler song to me. To the album, I don't know though. I might say for the album critical, because it's a Gene song, and you don't have that many songs. You start taking all his filler songs out. But I would go critical to the album, not the catalog, and not the KISStory for sure, because it just feels like another hurry up. We got to put something on the album. So that's what it was, right? It wasn't an hour or 2. Was that one of them that they wrote and learned?
Yeah.
So
I don't think this. I don't think this is one of them. I think this is one that Gene played guitar on.
Yeah. So
I think 2 of them that was written in an hour are Paul songs.
Yeah.
1 yes, 2 no's.
1 yes,
AJ?
2 no. Yeah.
I would say I like this song a lot better on Alive. Unfortunately, it wasn't on Alive, but they did perform this live, and I just watched the Largo 1975 performance that, thanks to the great Sam Loomis, whoever you are out there. and it's really, really good live. But on the album, it's like two-timer. It's backtracking. That da 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 da. Although I do like the opening line. So you've been to the market and the meat looks good tonight. I think that is fucking classic Kiss. So I'm going to give it 1 yes, 2 no's, critical to the album just for that line. and you can hate on it in the comments, but critical to the album, yes. Catalog, no. KISStory, also no.
Or Getaway. Critical to the album, yes. It's one of the better songs on the album. Critical to the catalog, no. And I hate to say it because I think this is one of those songs that it's another one of those. It's like Rock Bottom. It's doesn't get the love that it should have gotten. And critical to KISStory, I hate to say it, but no, it's not critical to KISStory.
I think we're on the same page on that one. It's a good song. I like it on the album. Critical to the album, sure. Catalog, no. KISStory, no. I kind of wish they would have done some more with. I wish they kind of would have put it out there a little more. I do like it. For a Peter song, it's a good song.
So
I
like
like it.
Seeing it played live some.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty badass.
Played live.
It'd be pretty badass live. So, yep. So that's a yep and 2 no's.
Yep. Yeah, I like it a lot. I'm a big fan of Peter's voice. And knowing that it was written by Ace, you can tell just it's that style. It's very driving. I think this would have been spectacular live because they could have added a lot to it. I just don't know why. It almost feels like on this album they're like too scared to do too much. And I feel like this album could have broke them if they wouldn't have been so timid about what they were doing. Every song needs a solo. The 70s was a guitar-driven decade.
I just think they didn't have time. I read some liner notes in the box set where Paul talked about how they were writing songs and they were spending in like 12 and 16 hours in the studio, and they were writing songs in the studio, and songs didn't really get completed or fully fleshed out because they just didn't have the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, probably they didn't have the money
that's not
either.
enough time. Yeah.
No, 10 days, that's an average of a song a day.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, in that time, and for the most part, it's all new material.
Yep.
So
but it's amazing they put out the album they did, considering it's only 10 days.
And when I did my album rankings on my channel, I had Dressed to Kill at number 7. I think it's higher than that now. And I think I did move it up when I updated my ranking, but I had Getaway as my least favorite song. And I don't think that even that's the case anymore. So I'll give it a critical to the album because it's a Peter vocal. It's an Ace, right? But not to the catalog and not to KISStory. So I think that was across the board.
It's a hardcore cult fan favorite because it's Peter vocal and Ace right. But yeah. All right. So Rock Bottom. I think it is critical to the album. And I also think that Rock Bottom is critical to the catalog. In a lot of ways, the reason why and I'll tell you my reasoning if I called an album critical to the catalog, is if it made it to a live. Because if it made it to a live, that means that they played it and it's appeared on an album in studio form and in a live form. So at least for this album, now that won't be for every song on every album, but at least for this album, with as little great material or standout material that it has, I'd say Rock Bottom is critical to the album, critical to the catalog, but is not critical to KISStory. And it's an incredibly short album. If you look at it as it's playing digitally, the solo at the beginning, the melody or the instrumental at the beginning lasts halfway through the song. and then Rock Bottom itself is barely 2 minutes long. So
Right.
it
Yeah.
is just an incredibly short song, not fleshed out at all, but it's packed with nutrition. It's packed with goodness. It's like a mini bite of a Snickers bar. You take that bite and you're like, dang it, I want more. So that's how
Right.
that's how it kind of is to me.
I would say critical to the album, critical to the catalog, and critical to KISStory. But
Okay.
like you said, it just kind of ends like they ran out of tape or something. Like it needs one more verse or one more go around or something. It's just kind of it. It's like, oh, that's it. Like, okay, but
Well, you know what the difference is with this version and the version on Alive is the version on Alive is longer than this version, but the way they made it longer on Alive was they cut the instrumental down. The instrumental on Alive is probably a quarter of what it is on here,
yeah,
but they extended the song. Ace plays longer solo. There's like an entire section of a solo on Alive that isn't on the on this album.
okay,
And it's just like with Rock and Roll All Night, which we'll get to that later, but there's no solo on Rock and Roll All Night, but there is a nice long solo in Rock and Roll All Night on the live album.
yeah. Did they play that intro live, or do you think that was something they just put in post? Did they really play that? I don't remember.
They played it. Paul played it.
Okay.
They came out and played it. Paul and Ace came out and played it together.
Okay.
Yeah, and then in '96 when they reunited, they played it. Ace had the double neck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That really cool double neck Les Paul.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a yes across the board for me. I like it. It's a good song anyway. So
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes to all three as well. Like you said, it's great on Alive. It's one that kind of made it onto double platinum, I guess, in a way. The intro did at least. So I think that helps. That definitely helps with the catalog aspect of it. And KISStory, I feel like it's one of those ones that had they kept playing it, I don't think we would have got burnout on it. Something like Say Yeah. Like if they would have played Rock Bottom instead of Say Yeah, that would have been awesome.
yeah.
But like the instrumental is just so like it's so different especially for Kiss at this time, and it's so different for Kiss throughout KISStory. And you get that instrumental and then it's that pause and then I can't wait a day. I love that.
Yeah.
It was one of my first real favorite Kiss songs because it just had a different vibe to it than anything else they did.
I agree.
For sure.
All right. Next, let's see. Flipping the album. First track on the second side, Come On and Love Me. I think it is critical to the album. I think it is critical to the catalog. I don't think it's critical to KISStory. I think it's a great song. It's one of those songs that to me seems a little too short. But talking about opening lines, she's a dancer, a romancer. I'm a Capricorn. She's a Cancer. Paul's just great. He's a great lyricist, and he draws nice pictures with words. So, but yeah, I like Come On Love Me. It made it to Alive. It's got a great version on Alive. I love that pre-chorus. Baby, baby, don't you hesitate. Kind of changes rhythm a little bit. It's one of the few early songs you hear them kind of throw a pre-chorus in on. At this point in time, they hadn't really crafted their art to where they did bridges and pre-choruses and stuff like that. That kind of stuff would come later. So it's nice to see an early version of a song that has kind of like a pre-chorus to it.
I think I'm on the same wavelength there. Critical to the album. Yeah. Great song. Great opening track for a side. Catalog. It's I think so. And KISStory, yeah, probably that too, because it's another one off Alive that I really liked when I first heard it, and yeah, it's got a good little kick to it. I like it. So yeah, fuck it, critical all across the board.
all across the board. Critical stamp.
Tic tac toe.
Yeah, I'm with AJ. Critical across the board. I think it's critical to the album. I think it's critical to the catalog, and I think it's critical to KISStory because it was the first promo video. Which, you know, if you're a Kiss fan, you've seen it a million times. But I love this video and the Rock and Roll Night video, and also, you know, it's been on a lot of compilations. It was on Double Platinum. It wasn't on Smashes. It wasn't on Killers, but it was also, I don't remember if this was on Greatest Kiss, but I know it was on Very Best Of and like the Gold and all that shit that came out later on that we all bought reluctantly. Just because the track listings were different.
Next track, Anything for My Baby.
I would still.
Anything for My Baby is one of those songs that I used to not like it just because of the chorus that the drums do anything for my baby. It just kind of drones because they keep repeating it, and then to try to make the song drag out, they just keep repeating that chorus. And early Preacher Paul starts, I would still, and then at the end of it, he's at the very end as it's fading out, he's like, I would do anything for my baby. You know, I mean, it's just like you have to turn it up really loud to hear it because it's just before they stop.
And you're like, wait a second, was that the American Dream Dusty Rhodes? I would do anything for my baby. Hard time.
And this way this starts, it almost sounds like they're starting Rock and Roll All Night. It's doom, 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 doom. You get that couple beats and then starting on anything for my baby. But so for me, this is me. For me, I don't think this is critical to the album, the catalog, or KISStory. It feels like filler, but it is really good filler because I like the verses. I like the part, I'm in love and I feel so good because I need her. When I saw that and she looked my way. I love all that. But when they get to, because I would still do anything for my baby. I'm like, I hate that part. So,
anything for my baby.
They ruin it with that. But yeah, so no for me.
No.
Let's see. Well, it's a song I like to sing whenever my wife asks me to do something. You know, could you go downstairs and grab a case of sure, anything
for my baby.
And she's like, what is that? I'm like, what is it?
Anything for my baby.
It's a Kiss song, babe. Which one?
We should cover that. Anything for my baby.
But yeah, another quickie filler type feeling song to it.
Very short.
I put it critical on the album. It barely. I mean, it's like you said. Even the fillers aren't bad, really. They're just kind of fillers. So, but definitely not the catalog. Definitely not KISStory. Time would have went on if it never existed, and we would have never known anything else. But I'd say, one yes and two no's.
Yeah, this is one of the songs that was written in the studio in an hour. This one and Come On and Love Me. So to me, the 1 hour quickies, Come On and Love Me is hands down better than Anything for My Baby as far as quality of song and everything. But yeah. No solo. Very, very quick. What about you, Tommy?
I'm giving it the trifecta no. like you said, Brant, I like the verses, but yeah, the chorus is just it sounds like they're bored. You couldn't do anything better than that. Like Paul's voice sounds cool. I want steel. Like, yeah.
Anything for my baby.
My baby. Are you fucking hammered? Like, what's the like? Give it something. Give me a little bit of energy here. And you got Paul. I want steel. For my baby. I will deal.
Oh my god, that's all I'm gonna hear now. That's all I'm gonna hear.
Come the fuck on, like come just up an octave. Anything for my baby, something. But I do overall. I like the song, but I don't think it's critical. I mean, this could have easily been a 9-song album. I think this is, after thinking back, when I did my ranking, I didn't put it as my least favorite song because everybody else that I've ever heard talk about Dress to Kill hates this song. So I was like, I can't do it. So I picked Getaway. And I think, and I do like it again, but I think this is my least favorite song. Even with Paul being
Two-Timer's my least favorite. Two-Timer's my least favorite. I can't give Two-Timer, I can't forgive it for what it does to room service.
Maybe that's why room service didn't do well overall. It's because
it's like
slowed it down so much.
I can't remember I can't remember how young I was when I heard this album, and I can't remember the very first time I heard it. But I just know listening now, it's like Two-Timer is like somebody pooping in the pool. I mean, it's like, it's like you got a party going on with room service, and then everybody's got to get out of the pool because Junior done put a baby Ruth in the pool.
It's no big deal.
I was going to make a poop reference myself. I'm going to say room service is a Thanksgiving dinner with all the fixings, and Two-Timer is the toilet getting clogged.
Yeah. So it just brings the whole level of the album down, and I can't forgive it for that.
Hey, buddy, how about a courtesy flush?
All right, here you go, ladies in waiting. One more, and a plunger. All right.
Be like, can you do it, Baron? Ladies in waiting. The best I can do is anything for my baby.
Anything for my baby.
Did they slow the tape down? Like, what is it?
Anything for my baby.
All right, so let's talk about a good song. Let's talk about She. To me, She is. I know it's got Rock and Roll All Nite on this album, and even if I take Fatigue out of the equation, She is still my favorite song on this album. To me. I think it's critical to the album. I think it's critical to the catalog, and I definitely think it's critical to KISStory, even though it didn't get much play later on in their career. It should have.
Right.
I like that I love the way it sounds. I love She Walks by Moonlight. I love it. It's like it's all three band members singing. It's Paul singing, Gene singing, Peter singing. I think even Ace is singing some when you watch it live. It's got Ace is soloing all through it, and it's got that cool solo at the end that Ace does, and it's got that breakdown. It's got that breakdown, that it's got that. I mean, and then and we can all sing it. I mean, we can all sing it.
Yep.
So it's to me, it is one of the
Do well for others. She doesn't really know. The powers are within her. She takes off her clothes.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's great.
Yeah,
It's one of the
That's it.
diamonds in the Kiss crown to me. It's
We're going
she
on
is one
tour.
of those songs that's like it's way up. Yeah, we are. We could be the Acapulcos.
The fun in Acapulcos.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what
Shout
I
out
think
to
of
the
she. I
king.
think it's great. I think it's great.
I hate this song. No.
Fuck
Anything for my baby.
This song is like one of my probably top 4 or 5 for sure. I love this song. It's definitely critical to the album, to the catalog, to KISStory. Sometimes I like to sing both parts, one part and then the other part, or sometimes I sing the one, and people look at me and just think I'm crazy, but that's just how I roll, man. But I love the song. I love the little darkness to it. So yeah, it's and I wish, like you said, Brandon, I just wish they would have shown it some more love later on in life, because it's a great song. But I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know how they think on their set lists as time went on. But man, I wish they would have shown a lot more love to that, because I love that song. I love it. So yes, across the board, critical across the board, baby.
Yeah. And this is an old song. This is a song that I was originally going to put as a trivia. This song actually is a Wicked Lester leftover, but it actually precedes Wicked Lester. This is Gene wrote this song, and it first came to light all the way back in his Bullfrog Beer days, his Bullfrog Beer band. So it's a really old song. So Tommy, what about you?
Yes, across the board. Trifecta. From the opening. Dude, AJ said this was top 4, top 5. This is my 3rd favorite Kiss song. Black Diamond was number 2 that I talked about in the debut. This is by far my 3rd. This is right up there with Black Diamond and Love Gun. I catch myself singing it all the time. And even, especially when I was a kid, more now probably, when I hear the line, the powers are within her, she takes off her clothes, I'm like, that's Kiss, baby. That's Kiss. I fucking love it. And yeah, that Midnight Special clip that I've used 1,000 times in my videos, to watch that now in what they call 4K, as close as we'll get that in 4K. It is so badass. And I know we blow Ace a lot, but I'm going to do it again. The solo.
One of his best. One of his best.
Oh man.
And he takes it to the next level. He takes it to the next level on Alive.
Yeah.
And they did that. He takes it to the next level.
Yep.
Oh, it's so sick. I love it. That is by far my favorite song on this album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wish this would have got the love that Rock and Roll All Nite got over the years. I'd be cool if they closed every show with She.
Yep.
I'd be cool if they played every show with She in it.
Oh yeah,
somewhere towards the end. I think it'd be they could have done it every single time to me. They bailed on it too soon. I mean, I know they brought it back some for reunion and then it went away again, but they could have kept. The reunion was a magical time, because it's like whenever you look at the set list of some of the early reunion shows and that first reunion tour, you could tell they were playing what the old school fans wanted to hear.
Yep.
And
it was like a perfect blend of Alive 1 and 2.
Yep.
Right. And
I was cool with that.
And having She in that mix, it was magical. to hear she in the same set list that you've got Detroit Rock City in. That's that was awesome. All right, next song, get near the end. Love Her All I Can. This is another Wicked Lester leftover written by Paul. I think this is great. I think this is one of Paul's. This is probably my favorite Paul song on this album. So I think it is critical to the album. I think it's, but I don't think it's critical to the catalog or to KISStory because it's one of those songs that they never really did anything with. So yeah, I think it's a song that they could have gotten more mileage out of, and they could have made it, in my opinion, critical to the catalog and critical to KISStory, but they just chose they didn't choose to do that.
True. I agree with you, man. Good song. Album, critical for the album. Yeah. It's a great song in the album. Catalog, unfortunately, no, because they, like you said, didn't do nothing. Same with the KISStory, they didn't do nothing with it. It's got the same energy and swagger as Room Service, and I think that really could have done something with it, but just don't know what happens. You know, I wish there was a time back in the day where we could have just voted on shit or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
They still wouldn't have listened anyway, but but yeah, it's one critical and two no's, unfortunately. But good song though. I like it.
I've always wondered that, like when they're getting ready, when they're gearing up for a tour, and very rarely did they have like audibles, you know, like Rock the Nation. I know there were audibles because Tommy and Eric, you know, musically, yeah, I get it. But like, is it when Gene and Paul are making those decisions? Is it like, oh, I can't do this one because I fart every time I hit this certain note? Like it's like brown noise where it just starts coming out. I don't get it. Like, and I know their show is, you know, over the top and always has been, so they have like the moments. But it's like you can't time like pyro or just maybe not even have pyro to a certain song. But this one is a top 10 Kiss song for me. It's in my actual top 10 songs. I love it. I love Her All I Can. I love it all I can. But like, you know, you get the multiple voices and then just Paul on the love her all I can, don't try and understand. It's got a great funky kind of groove to it that I think it's definitely critical to the album, but like you guys, I don't think it's critical to the catalog, and it should be critical to KISStory because it was a leftover from Wicked Lester. But unfortunately, I think this is one that gets forgotten about because it's in that dreaded, in my opinion, number 9 spot on a 10-song album that I don't know what it is. Everybody's waiting. And I especially think this, like a novice Kiss fan is just waiting for the closer.
Yeah. Probably should have switched Come On and Love Me with this song, I would think. I think this would have been a better opener for a side 2, and then Come On and Love Me, and then Rock and Roll All Night.
I like that.
So I went, while we're recording, I jumped on Kiss set list or set list FM and was looking at the stats for this song being played live. It was played, the first time it was played live was January the 30th, 1973 at Coventry. And then on the 31st, same Coventry, February 1st, Coventry, July 13th, Hotel Diplomat, 1973, August 24th, the Daisy, 1973. And then it was the next time it was played live was the Hilton Hotel, Melbourne, Australia in 1995. That is a tragedy. That is a tragedy.
20
that this
years.
This song did not get airplay anytime, did not get performance anytime during the 70s. It's a tragedy.
This would have been great on that Hot in the Shade tour that we all think so highly of. Add this one in that set list.
Yeah, because it's a very this is on my summer playlist. I did a summer playlist a couple, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, where I had people vote in on summer songs. I'm going to remake one myself this year. I'm going to do a summer playlist, And I'm going to go and tell you, Love Her All I Can is going to be on it because it is just a very upbeat, summery, driving with the windows down or sitting out by the pool drinking a beer or grilling on the barbecue. It's a song that fits in any of those situations. So, like I said, I don't understand why they didn't do more with this song. It's one of the better songs on the album, and they just abandoned it.
Huh. I'm
with
surprised
you.
20
they
years.
did it.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Rock and Roll All Night. Party every day. I've got critical to the album. Yes, critical to the album. Kiss. Yes. Critical to the catalog. Yes. Critical to KISStory. Yes. Of course, it's Rock and Roll All Night. I mean,
yeah.
Even with fatigue, I still think it's a great song. And it's one of those songs where I think it's critical because it's one of those songs that Gene and Paul truly collabed on. You know, he had a song called "Drive Me Wild" or "Drive Us Wild" or something like that, and Paul came up with the chorus, "I want to rock and roll all night, and party every day." And if you listen to it, you kind of hear that. It's like Gene's song's got this one vibe to it, kind of, you want to go for a spin. It's kind of like rockabilly. And then it just gets to, you keep on shouting, And then Paul comes in with, I want to rock. And it's just those long notes. And, but it is a collab. And I think it's critical in the fact that it's one of those songs that Gene and Paul collabed on. So that's a part of the foundational of stuff that they would continue to do moving forward. And I mean, like I said, it's Rock and Roll All Night. It's one of the songs other than I Was Made for Loving You. It's probably the song that people that aren't Kiss fans know the most.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Reluctantly, at this point for me, it's critical to everything. There is a lot of fatigue to it, but it's still, like you said, good song. Awesome on live, because I never really caught the whole solo thing until years later. That there is no solo on the album. So
yeah, and Ace has like an extended solo on the album, on Alive.
Yeah, it's almost like two solos.
Yeah,
made up for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really cool to see live too with the confetti. We all know the confetti and everything, and it's just I wish it wasn't that the only thing they did at the end of the show, but I guess that they had to at that point. So yeah, it's critical across the board to me. I don't know where they would be if it didn't get as big as it was. I don't know, how that would have worked out, but it is what it is. What happened? Critical.
Yep, another trifecta here. It was granted the studio version didn't break; it still charted. And I mean, as a Kiss fan, how many times has a non-Kiss fan been like, "Oh, Kiss, yeah, rock and roll all night, yeah," or "I want to rock and roll all night and party all day long"? I remember people used to say that, and it was like so like cringy to my ears, and I'm like, not only did you get it wrong, but you can't think of any other song. And
they're like Lois from Family Guy. Lois from Family Guy.
Right. Yeah,
rock and roll and have a really good time.
And have a wonderful time.
But and then like now I get kind of aggravated when people are like, "Oh yeah, I Was Made for Loving You" is their most popular song, and granted Spotify does say it is, but I still think even with that known knowledge now that it's one of those billion played songs on Spotify, I still think people know Rock and Roll All Night overall as the Kiss song.
Oh yeah,
they're the Rock and Roll All Night band. And maybe not like in generations moving forward, because people do look at that digital aspect so much more. Maybe probably like mine or my little sister's generation was probably the cutoff. Because even like my kids, they know I Was Made for, they know all these songs, but like I Was Made for Loving You is like the kids' first favorite Kiss song because it is very catchy. But yeah, Rock and Roll Night, it's forever the closer. if you were lucky enough to see them ever in concert without this being the closer, consider yourself lucky.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's critical across the board, and I mean, it's kind of what leads into the break of the band, so it has to be critical.
Yeah, and it's funny because it just doesn't have the energy. You can tell even it was rushed. It doesn't have a solo. The energy is there, but it's not the energy of it on with the additional solo and just the energy of the band on a live is what catapulted it. That's why that's the version that charted, and it should have, because Kiss is one of the biggest Achilles heels that Kiss has always had, is they have always been a better live band than they have been a studio band. It was later on they started capturing that magic in the studio, but it took them a while to do it.